Hello, everybody. You're watching the Real Sports Scope on this 24th day of August. My Netflix is about to go out in one day, and I just finished up The Outer Banks, the wildly over the top, jumping the shark show the last season. It was actually pretty good. Even though it's really unbelievable and stuff. I think they jumped the shark, which is a reference to Happy Days for some of you younger audiences, where they just unbelievable events that's really over the top. But to their credit, it was very good. If you have a chance to watch it, if you've been following it, the last season's worth a watch. Okay, great show with you for tonight, folks. I'm sorry I didn't get to go live Thursday. A little under the weather last week. When you're working like I have, you're a single guy, you're by yourself. You have a lot of detractors. You're trying to pay for your bills, and you're trying to keep this show afloat. Working as hard as I can to get a little under the weather. Missed a few days of work. Had to make up that time, so I didn't have a show Thursday with Mad New Yorker. We'll be back this Thursday. I'll be back tomorrow live doing the program. I'm working on getting a guest here for tomorrow's show. But I'll also be doing another NFL division tomorrow. I don't know which one, but I'm going to work on the AFC North today. Got a thought on this Deshaun Watson, Cleveland Browns, Shedeur Sanders situation as well. Faison Brandon, the Vols, they named their starting quarterback. So we're going into naming starting quarterback for the college and the NFL time of year. I'm going to talk about that, go over a little bit more news and notes here on the program. So stand by. We'll take our first and only break. I'll be back here momentarily. We'll hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. If I can find my intro here. Here we go, folks. You are listening to the Real Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show on the planet. Honest but fair opinions and admission when I'm wrong. If you want to be part of this success, you can reach me at the word sports with an S, another S, KOPE @gmail.com. Again, that is the word sports with an S, another S, KOPE @gmail.com. Thank you and enjoy the program. And enjoy this program. Okay, now, interesting story. Thought this was going to be an interesting storyline to follow throughout the NFL preseason. Deshaun Watson named starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns this morning. That was a big story early this morning. Announced Todd Monken named Deshaun Watson week 1 start over Shedeur Sanders. The Browns opened up the season with 2 consecutive road games against Jacksonville, followed by the Tampa Bay Bucks. Not a week-to-week. Monken clarified the choice. Watson's QB number was a firm decision start of the year rather than temporary weekly evaluation. I don't believe that. I do not believe that, okay? But you look at the numbers here, Deshaun Watson, let's talk about just the that's all we have the data on, folks. Let's talk about the preseason. Watson, 16 completions, 27 attempts, 161 passer yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick, 59% completion percentage. Shedeur Sanders, 15 of 22, 68% completion percentage, 153 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Game-by-game breakdown. Watson started. He got off to a good start against Chicago, 11 for 15, 126 in the first half. With Sanders starting the first half of the following game, 74 yards, touchdown, interception. Watson took over the second half of that game, 36 yards and interception. So they're pretty close. You give the edge on Shedeur Sanders with completion percentage, folks. So you're looking at this. This is all about money, per se, with Watson Okay. And I'm going to get to a bigger point here in just a second. Deshaun Watson, if they cut him post June 1st of next year, it's 34 million in 26, 51 million in 28. Okay. If they cut him this year, it's 86 million straight up for this year. You cut ties and move on. Listen. A year ago, 1 year ago, the Denver Broncos cut Russell Wilson the same amount of money, around $86 million in dead cap. They rolled the dice with Bo Nix, this young quarterback who bounced around college football for a while. From Auburn, went over to Oregon, got his footing. He goes in the first round. A lot of folks thought that was a reach in the first round. They end up making it to the AFC Championship game. I expect this team to play really well again this year. The continuity with this team seems to be just following practice to practice, following the games. It seems to be with Shedeur Sanders, okay? The footage is leaking out of practice. It looks like Shedor's the better player, but it's not a widening gap per se where it's so over the top that the fans are booing Deshaun Watson even more than they did this past Sunday. And I like, Watson. He said, listen, that's offensive, blah, blah, blah. He has that initial approach towards the fans booing him in the game. Todd Monken comes back later on today and says, I want to say later on, either during the press conference or today, whenever Todd Monken, the head coach, said, hey, listen, and I agree with Todd Monken, the coach, about the boos. You play well, all that will change, okay? You got to have some thicker skin than that. These people pay money. And by the way, it was pouring down rain. The game had a 45-minute delay, lightning delay, if not longer, this past weekend in that particular game. And the fans, the few thousand that showed up, that came back during that rainstorm for a preseason game. Now it was against Buffalo, and the Buffalo has some star players and everything. Yeah, it's their right to boo, that you got to have some thicker skin. So Watson comes back today after being named the starting quarterback, overreacted, yada, yada, yada. But like Todd Monken said, you win, all that will change. Don't put too much into that. I'm on the thought of with Todd Monken on that perspective, okay? As far as that is, as far as the whole fans booing, I think that's an overstatement. Now, as far as team continuity and all that stuff, that I think you just cut bait. And listen, I've owned this thing since this started a few years ago. When they were going after Deshaun Watson, they felt like they had a Super Bowl team. They cut bait with Baker Mayfield. Thought at the time they should have cut a bait with Baker Mayfield. I thought even though the 20-something sexuals, this was never a criminal complaint, these civil suits, although they had 21, 24, some ridiculous amount of civil suits against Deshaun Watson with the massage parlor therapist or whatever he met off Instagram or whatever. I said they should have rolled the dice and got a quarterback. They haven't had a Pro Bowl quarterback since Derek Anderson, who's an alternate back in 2007. They had a serious Super Bowl level quarterback going all the way back to the 80s. Before that, Bernie Kosar. So Mr. Haslam's just trying to let people know I'm serious about winning this team. I just don't want to have this on my plate here and I just don't want to sit in the owner's box and say, hey, I got a pro team. Look at me, beat on my chest. He wanted to turn this team into a winner. He pressed for Deshaun Watson, all the draft picks, all this guaranteed money. And I was on board with that. And I admit I was 110% wrong about this. It feels like bad karma. It feels like that Watson, once he got that $250 guaranteed, he stopped working as hard. I know he had injuries. He had a shoulder injury. He's had this Achilles injury. He's just flat out not played consistently. He doesn't look like he has the passion that he did as a Houston Texans quarterback. He's 30 years old now. They still owe him, like I said, it's about $86 million in guaranteed. A big cap hit this year. That would be split up if they cut him after June 1st next year. I say just eat it now, look ahead. So the fact that they're going to do what they're going to do is be indecisive and try to hang on to a mistake that they've made and not owning it and moving on for it. They're trying to hang on and trying to correct this thing even up to the last minute. This is going to cause a little bit of a divide in the locker room. I will also acknowledge that they've been terrible during these preseason games. They've got their preseason. Maybe they're holding back. But from what I see, Todd Monken looks like, could be wrong. I was a big Todd Monken fan. I liked what he did with Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, regardless of what the Ravens may be saying. And I also really like what he did in college with Stetson Bennett and that Georgia team. I liked what he did there. But he very well may be too much of a player's coach. The reason why he's only got this first job being in his 60s is because he may be like a Dick LeBeau type of guy. That's a former great defensive, Hall of Fame level coordinator, in my opinion, that came over from the Steelers. That was a short stint there, head coach with Cincinnati. I remember TJ Houshmandzadeh said this guy was he let us get away with everything. It was basically too much of a player's coach. I'm summarizing. I'm not direct quoting TJ Houshmandzadeh, a former Cincinnati Bengal, but he said that about Dick LeBeau. And I'm thinking I may be wrong. I hope I'm wrong because I like Monken, but this may be the case here. But I don't think this is the right decision. I think I'll just cut bait with him, eat the money. This is a lesson learned not to give these players too much of a guaranteed contract. And I noticed that nobody else in the NFL, this is a case study for what not to do. Nobody else has gave these quarterbacks that level of guaranteed money since Deshaun Watson got the $250 guaranteed. Okay. Sometimes you just got to cut the losses and start fresh instead of trying to wait and weed it out. They've got a lot of young draft picks. They've got some player. KC Concepcion looks like he's been the talk of the camp so far. The receiver, I want to say out of Texas A&M. He looks to be money here. We look at the talent they brought in last year. You look at the Jared Verse trade for Myles Garrett, and they've got extra picks, a first and a second round. I mean, they really came out well with what they've done, building around this debacle, Andrew Berry, drafting of a contract here with Deshaun Watson, who's been hurt most of the time, has not played very much at all. Okay, so that's a good starting point here. Sometimes you just got to cut your losses and move on. You're extending this painful nightmare with Deshaun Watson by keeping him on this roster. Hope I'm wrong, but I think this is going to come back and bite the Cleveland Browns. The fans do not want to hear that, okay? But, okay, let's start off with them since I've started off with that particular story. I think it's the biggest story in the offseason, that quarterback battle here. They've added guys like Spencer Fano at tackle here. Like I said, they made the move here and got the edge rusher, Jared Verse, and got those picks for Myles Garrett. They finished pretty strong last year. Remember, they got some big upsets down the stretch. The defense was rock solid. You know, they've got a lot of those players coming back. 10 players on that 9 players on the defense coming back that played pretty well down the stretch. They beat Cincinnati down the stretch, okay? Who they upset down the stretch? They beat Cincinnati. They beat Pittsburgh, okay? They lost a 3-point game to Buffalo at home. You know, they were 5-12 last year, all right? So looking at their season this year, because of this, instead of just cutting bait with Watson, okay, I think they're going to go 5-12 again this year, which is ironically, before I looked at that, their over and under is 5.5 wins. Okay. So I got them going slightly under. Could they go with this talent that we talked about time and time again over the past 2 drafts coming together? Could they go 9-8, 10-7? I could very well see that. Okay. But right now, I think they're going to finish in 4th place, although I'm going to do the whole North here. I think they'll probably finish about 5-12, which they finished last year with the exact same record, which they'll end up being in the top 5, 6 in the draft. Then they'll have a decision to make. And listen, part of this may be very well that they think Shedeur is simply too immature to take on this job. He's too immature to take on this job. They're going to get out of the Watson thing probably in June 1st next year and split that dead cap money up. And they'll probably, because there's a lot of quarterbacks that's supposed to be talented coming out, they're going to get in that sweepstakes of one of these young quarterbacks and start over then. Cleveland don't want to hear that. They want to hear Shedeur, the light bulb goes off and he takes over, or Watson, the light bulb goes off. I don't know. Watson throwing the ball short, not getting a lot of torque off his passes with a lot of his balls are coming up short here because he's getting over that Achilles injury. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I'm going to say they're going to have the exact same record as they did last year. I know Mad New Yorker, who is he's picking them to win the division, does not want to hear that per se. Okay? All right. Now, Pittsburgh staying in the same division here. Listen, the whole time I said I thought Pittsburgh made the right call by moving off Mike Tomlin, 19 years. You all know I've talked about this ad nauseum, that Bill Walsh, the former coach of the 49ers, although he was doing general manager work, I didn't know that until later on. He says pro-organization coach, whether you're management or in coaching, you should move off of your job after about 10 years, okay? 19 years from Tomlin, things got stale. The team played down the competition. They held on to defensive players too long. Thought that was a good call. Thought bringing in an offensive-minded guy like a Mike McCarthy was a good call as well. That being said, you still have 40-plus-year-old Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback. You still got J.J. Watt, 30-plus-year-old T.J. Watt, who is very high and expensive, and he is an older player that is likely to get injured. You still have guys like an older receiving core here. I just read today that they're bringing back safety here. He's just now healthy enough to play again. Jalen Ramsey, he's over 30-something years old. DK Metcalf pushing 30-something years old. I did like the fact that they brought in Jamel Dean at cornerback to play, and they brought in Michael Pittman to play alongside DK Metcalf. So you do got guys like Patrick Queen in a contract year going to play pretty well. Played pretty well the other day. Got a chance to see him against the Jets. Drew Aller looks to be promising, okay? But you start putting all this together, the organization still wants to hang on to these older defensive players when Mike McCarthy would love to do away with not signing Aaron Rodgers back, would love to bust up all these older defensive players. Cameron Hayward, 36 years old. I love Cameron Hayward, but he's long in the tooth, man. And I want to thank him for watching the program. I think he's going to be a great sports talk, sportscast analyst guy, but he's an older player. You got older players on defense. You got one of the older quarterbacks in the league at starting the quarterback on offense here. Are you going to depend on Drew Aller, a guy who barely threw the ball in college, to come in and take over? there's too much. They got to blow this team up. You know, you've got to blow this team up here primarily and get younger on that defensive side of the ball. And you got to get a solid quarterback. I don't know if Aller's that guy or not. Maybe under McCarthy that he is. So I've actually got them taking a step back, although they took a step forward with head coach here, but not personnel. I got them going 7-10, missing the playoffs here. And I'm sorry to my Ralph Williams fans, all my Pittsburgh fans. It's a little frustrating right now that they want to hang on like that going forward here. So we'll see what happens. They're always a team that's going to upset somebody that you don't think they're going to upset. Could they upset, let's see, a Denver? They play Houston. Remember, Houston smoked them last year in the playoff. I got them losing that Houston game. But they get to play Houston, Denver back-to-back. At Jacksonville on a Monday night. Short week, got to play Baltimore. I mean, that's loss, man. You're dealing with an older team. Cincinnati's really looking good this year. Had a great camp first of all. Got off to a faster start. Cincinnati's going to be a tough. They got to play Cincinnati twice here. They got to play at New England. So that's giving you an explanation of why I think they're probably going to be 7-10, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay? Moving right along with the pages in the book here. And, of course, I got everything backwards, so I have to go back and talk about the Baltimore Ravens next year. Okay, now, Ravens. Biggest story, obviously, was John Harbaugh. Baltimore got criticized. John Harbaugh, 18 years, same boat with Mike Tomlin. Things getting a little stale, blowing big leads in games. Teams just not responding the way they wanted it to respond. The owner says if they win this game against Pittsburgh, I'll fire them the next week. Okay, I think the owner, that sounded a little crude, but I thought that was the right decision to move off Harbaugh. Harbaugh needed to change the scenery. The Ravens needed a new voice. Ironically, they bring in Jesse Minter. John Harbaugh's assistant coach there, coordinator there with the LA Chargers there to spruce this team up. A young guy, up and coming, defensive minded guy. They had the debacle there with the Max Crosby trade, backing out at the last minute. My opinion, I think what they saw, the fact that Trey Henderson was still available, so they backed out, threw the physical excuse up there, brought in Trey Henderson but it was also an injured player and a 30-something-year-old player plus coming off injury. Signed him. That was a big signing. But they have also lost guys like Tyler Lindenbaum. They lost Isaiah Likely, Cal Van Noy, which is an older player, Daniel Feasible, Filet, a guard there, played 17 games. They've lost quite a bit of players here. 9 offense, 8 on defense coming back. But they've got an aging roster. They did extend Zay Flowers in the offseason. Derrick Henry's another year older here. What are you going to do about Lamar Jackson? He wants a new contract, has not signed an extension yet. I think that they're going to play feisty, but I don't think they're just going to be this big, great team like a lot of people were saying. They were 8-9 last year. Although the schedule kind of lines up for them pretty well. I think they'll probably go 10-7. They've got a first-time play caller there at offensive coordinator. There's a lot to be untangled there. I think they will move off Lamar Jackson after this season, but I do think that they're going to go 10-7. We'll be in the thick of things for the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to have this air quote big improvement per se. They're not going to have this big improvement that I think that the ownership mainly, expects to have. Okay? All right. But they do better than the Steelers, one of their big rivals, their biggest rival in the entire conference. Now, okay. Cincinnati, talking the AFC North here, everything relies on Joe Burrow being healthy. He's had a very good camp this year. They look to have a quicker start. They have a favorable schedule. They made a big move and got Dexter Lawrence. Remember, they traded their 10th pick overall to size up that run defense here. They've added in Cal Duggar at safety. That's going to help them out big time. Jonathan Allen there on defensive tackle as well. And they've added in Brian Cook there, another safety there. So they're going to be able to – remember, they had problems at safety there, beating them in the secondary. They shored that up the center of their field here, which is a lot of communication problems. They got beat a lot on the back end of their defense here. And obviously the big one was Dexter Lawrence. And, of course, don't let me forget about Boy Mafa from Seattle. That was a huge signing, edge rusher linebacker there. So they've added some pieces there on their and I've liked Chase Brown, this running back here. I think he's going to play well again this year. Like I said, if Burrow can stay upright, I think he will. I think this team's going to play really well. They play Tampa. They play Miami. They play the NFC South. They play at Washington, a team with all their problems on their defensive side. They've got Kansas City at home, okay? They play at the Colts, a team I think that's going to be decent but not that great, okay? They seem to get everybody off of a rough trip here. They got to play at Houston, of course, and that's one of their toughest games. But overall, they got Baltimore at home on a Thursday night. That's a big advantage for the Cincinnati Bengals. I gave them a generous prediction of 13-4. That's probably closer to 12-5, 11-6. That being said, whether they're 12-5 or 11-6, that would be enough to put them in first place in the AFC North and get the host at home game like they did the year they went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Rams just a few years ago. Remember, they won the division. They beat the Raiders at home, and then they went on the road and turned the Titans down here in Nashville over 3 times and ended up winning that game. So I do expect a big bounce back year. If this does not happen, Zach Taylor, will be the fall guy there at head coach. And, of course, the salesmanship of Mike Brown, the owner, and Joe Burrow and his agent or whatever is going to be on who they hire next as a head coach here to try to keep him from not demanding a trade and want out of Cincinnati. I think the pressure is on this year. I like what Burrow's saying. So I've got them playing really well and getting that division win. Not sure if they're going to have the best record per se in the AFC, but they could. They could have the best. Just the way it's laid out there. If you look, and of course I haven't. I'm gonna come on tomorrow and do probably the AFC South or the West. Probably do the West. Do another division. I love to do 2, but probably just 1 and break that down. I think the West will be much more difficult than the North here. Okay, so looking at the AFC North division here, I've got Cincinnati 13-4. That's probably a little generous there, but I still think even if they go like a 12-5 or 11-6, they'll still win the division there. I'll just say 13-4 for the sake. That's what I put down. Cincinnati 13-4. Baltimore second place 10-7. 7-10 for Pittsburgh in third, and Cleveland with the exact same record they had this past year at 5-12. Okay, so that's how the North is going to play out in my prediction. Just breaking down the schedule, seeing when teams play other teams. Of course, I'm projecting possibly some injuries with Baltimore because of their age. I think that the Ravens have lost too many players. And in Cleveland, there's too much of a quarterback quandary. And I'm just not sure about the coaching staff at Cleveland, judging by what I've seen in the preseason. But I do like Cleveland's young talent. We'll have to see how it all gels together, folks. Okay? All right. So, anyways, other news and notes. I'm hearing and seeing a lot about the Titans and their quarterback here. Who was this? Cam Ward, and the way they've been playing here. Listen, folks, I know he's looked bad in some spots. I actually saw an improvement in the Seattle game from the 49ers game. I saw him trying to do more timing routes there in that particular game. I saw this team come back, although they're going against backups against Seattle. I'm starting to see the transformation of a bad team, that's used to losing, that's involved in a losing culture, started to get some confidence and play better under this coaching staff. Still not in love with what they played. Still not in love with their secondary. I think they're going to get toasted there on the secondary, but I'm starting to see a little bit of improvement there with their offensive line, where they're running the ball, with their receiving core. It's all about Ward's continuing to get that timing better with this staff, but I do like the way that you're starting to see a little bit of that transformation. This is a team that's going to be a slow process from a losing culture to a winning physical culture. So I could very well, not picking their, I may work on them tomorrow, or you'll get them in the next week or so. But my whole point about the Tennessee Titans is they're going to be a slow maturation process. In other words, I know they open up against the Jets at home. That's a big win possibly, but I could see them actually losing to a veteran, Geno Smith, at the beginning of the season. Remember, Geno Smith won his first game as a Raider last year against New England, who went to the Super Bowl. But he falls apart as the season goes along, physically, like he does every year over the past few years. I could see Tennessee getting off to 0-1 start and fans really giving up on this team. So I'm not out on them totally. I can start to see the maturation process and the belief in this staff come together. It just takes some more time. They need to play their starters the whole half next game. I'm sorry. They need to play those starters as much as possible, both sides. Well, what if he gets hurt? Hey, listen, the whole key is to get better. Practice, practice, practice. This team needs a lot of practice, man. They need a lot of practice, okay? So that was one of my big impressions over the weekend when they Seattle. Of course, Seattle. They look good. They're not as bad as I thought they were going to be. I know they've lost some players. I know they've lost their offensive coordinator. I've already done the NFC, but I had them having a running record. They're going to get back in the playoffs. I just had the Rams winning the division, of course. The Rams are overstacked with talent, okay? All right, okay. Now, speaking of quarterbacks, another big story out of the college football world, Faison Brandon, the University of Tennessee quarterback, has been named the starting quarterback. This is a five-star guy. Vols fans, college football nation, been talking about this guy for about 2 years now. Since he committed to Tennessee to play quarterback there, he was a number 1 overall player at one time. Now he slipped a little bit. Still a five-star, top-notch player there. Very hard. Tennessee fought hard, recruited this guy, and now he's been named the starter here. He looks strong arm, got the NFL build already about him. Thought maybe he might lose this to the second-year player there. Was it McIntyre or whatever? But that did not happen, okay? So he ends up beating out McIntyre. We'll see how this thing plays out. My thing is, the bad news is when you got a true freshman going against players that are playing 3, 4, 5 years. You got a player out of Cleveland that's gotten cut. It's going to possibly go back to LSU because of a ruling. You've got guys now that's going to the NFL playing with those guys, getting cut, coming back to college. So that's not a good look for Tennessee. That's just not going to be good for them on the field, okay? They're over and under 7.5 wins. And if they win 7 games, I think that would be considered to be a successful season. Bryce Underwood, same situation last year, highly sought after, true freshman quarterback. We saw him struggle in the big games last year, losing the big games. They were 9-4 last year, but he had a good, solid team around him. That would be a miracle if Tennessee can go 9-4. I'm talking just a regular season just to get to a bowl game, 7-5. I don't think they're going to beat an Auburn. I don't think they're going to beat a Georgia Tech. I just don't see it now. I see the defense, the offensive line. We'll see how that – they've already had some injuries on defense, by the way. So a 7-5 type of record in the regular season would be considered a success. Long-term wise, you're getting this guy the proper snaps that he needs so he doesn't, air quote, transfer. And he is working under a very respectable – I have a lot of respect now for the offense that Josh Heupel runs. I just do not – I do think for the long yeah, go ahead, Mark. Buskick, ask a question. So I do think that this is a good learning maturation process for Brandon going forward here, okay? I hope that they don't bring in and start playing musical quarterbacks. I got a feeling they might do that if he struggles because he's a true freshman. Again, he's going against players on other teams that have players, defensive players, 3, 4, 5 years older than him. It's not going to be good. Who is your top head coach get cold? Does the top of your head get cold? Oh, funny guy. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Why is that? Because I got my head tilted back? Oh, funny guy. Okay. All right. Not a real question there. Okay. Anyways, I do think that long-term wise, this will be a good day. You don't want this guy transferring. So a lot of this could be because of that. But you know, long-term wise, you get those starts. Like I said, Bryce Underwood, there's a chance he could take off this year. You know, he could take off this year and really rebound from last year. He's got a new coach there, and was it Whittingham, the coach over there from Utah? So we'll see how that one plays out. But going forward, you're looking at 2-3 years from now, this guy's getting that experience in now, learning under Josh Heupel. They're going to have a good running game. They're going to have a good offensive line. That's going to be interesting to play out. Okay, also got an announcement here Tuesday of next week, folks. They're going. I'm going to have Big Ten and Rich guys. It's going to be my man Rich Ferris, Big, which is Self. Tan's not going to be here. Kenny, he's got to work with myself and Carlos. 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday. We're going to have a college football show. We're going to pick the college football playoff here and pick a champion. Let me tell you right now, this is not a year where there's a clear cut, regardless of what anybody says. I know Ohio State's number 1 in the AP poll. This is not a clear cut. There is not a clear cut favorite there per se to win this thing. A lot of people's picking. I noticed a lot of people's picking Notre Dame, the 66th ranked schedule in the country. A lot of people's going to pick Ohio State. A lot of people may pick Texas, although they've got the most difficult schedule in the country. I have not got a feel for who's going to win it yet. I'm leaning towards Georgia, but I have not made that decision final yet. So I'll be back tomorrow going over another division. I'd like to get 2 in, but I'll definitely get 1 in. It'll be the South or probably the West. May do the South since or the East. I'm not sure. But I'll get 1 more AFC division in and give you my opinions going down the stretch here. Going down the stretch here in the wild world of the NFL here, folks. Whew, that was a mouthful. You know, and again, I apologize for the show not being as consistent as it should be starting in the football season. Once we get started, let me see. I don't know. We'll have our prediction show next week. And then the following week, after college football starts week 1, then the show will be Tuesday through Thursday. You'll have it a consistent show Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7. And maybe we can get back to Monday through Friday. That's once I start to get some kind of sponsorship for this show, working on a lot of marketing opportunities for the show, talking to a lot of people, trying to get some more marketing for my clips and whatnot, getting another wrap. I got a new car, got another wrap putting on my car there, and all that stuff. So doing the best I can with the budget that I have. So subscribe to the Real Sports Scope YouTube channel, wherever you see Real Sports Scope, whether it be on TikTok, Facebook. Follow me on Facebook, Robert Butler. I'm verified, XApp verified. I would greatly appreciate that. So I'll be back tomorrow, though. I may get a guest here. I'm gonna work on getting a guest here. My man, I think it's Brady. Can't remember his name now. It's a big South Carolina fan. Maybe we could talk a little South Carolina football and get a little bit of SEC, get some SEC opinions in there. So, all right, folks, have a good night, everybody. I'll be back here tomorrow, same time, same place here on the